Hello there, how are you doing? Now in this video you're going to learn about function closures. Okay, so closures are functions that have access to variables from another function scope. Okay, so it's like a scope chain that we learned earlier, but the chain it forms can be quite unpredictable. So this is often accomplished by creating a function inside a function. Okay, so the best way is to obviously write a code and show you by example. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a function and let's call it 8. Okay, and then I create a variable fruit and let's say apple. Okay, so this is the outer function, this is the function, and this function has this variable apple. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another function which is an inner function. Okay, function, let's call it watch. Okay, so this function, what it will do, it will just console log fruit. So nothing surprising here. We have an outer function and we have inner function. So we know that function's execution context is where it is being executed, right? The nearest context. So this function's execution context is within the outer function scope. Okay, so this function, anything we do here, for example, we console log this variable, it is completely accessible, right? So the global global variables cannot access cannot go inside and access those functions variables, but the functions can go out if they don't find the fruit inside its own scope. For example, this is its scope, it cannot find the fruit here, so it will go out looking on this function, right? So nothing surprising here. We have the outer function, we have the inner function. Inner function is accessing the outer function's fruit variable and console log. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to return. Now this return is the outer function's return. Okay, it's not the inner function. Inner function is just console logging. Okay, so what I'm going to return, I'm going to return this inner function itself. Now what if let's say I create another variable called favorite fruit, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to execute this function. Okay, so when I execute this function, obviously this function returns this inner function, and this inner function carries the value of fruit. Okay, so in the global execution context, I have this variable which is referencing to this function, and then now I can invoke this function favorite fruit. Okay, and let's see what we see here, and we see apple. Okay, that's fine. So what actually happened here is the closure has been formed. This function has been assigned to another global variable, and from there it has been invoked, and it still has access to this inner function. So inner function's return value. So normally we would think that the inner function cannot be accessed by something from the global execution context, but in this case it has been possible like so. So this is a very basic overview of closures. Okay, so closures are functions that have access to variables from another function scope. What's interesting here is that this function is executed outside of its execution context. So this is what happened that is interesting. A very simple example of closures. Okay, function closures in JavaScript. All right, so this is it for closures, and now we're going to move on to the next topic, and that's coming next. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.